back now to our home in Utah. So this is number 6 of our videos. Even though we're already home, I really wanted to finish the series and kind of do it justice and honor the experience and especially the people who had such a positive impact on us. And but this hasn't been easy. I had to put this away for a little while and take some time for introspection and reflection about what we've learned, how we've grown, but especially to figure out why we didn't meet our goal. I think we're going to talk about that a little bit because we've learned a lot about what happened, about why it happened, and you know, how we can grow ultimately and be goal achievers and to do hard things and achieve things that we might otherwise think are impossible. So,
and to learn that sometimes you have a goal that ends up not being the right goal and you have to let it go and move on.
Yeah, I think there's some nuance to that actually, because it's easy to say that, oh, it wasn't meant to be, or, you know, and so let me say this. Things have worked out really well for us since we've been back. Some really good things have fallen into place for you.
And you.
I was going to say me, too, especially me. Jeez. Some things have fallen into place for us with my career and with Lisa, her passion and interests with crafting and sewing and other things are doing really well. With that said, there's a temptation to say that this was somehow the only way that it could have worked out, and I just don't believe that. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that we're not just cogs acting out somebody else's script, and there's only one way that things could work out, and that somehow we're just stumbling our way to whatever that is. I really believe that we're co-creators of our own destiny. If we had been in the right, I feel like the right mindset, if we had approached it with the right confidence level and level of belief, and if we had you know, used our ability to sort of mentally create the reality that we were pushing for, if we had risen to that, then it would have happened. What we've shown so far is a lot of the great things, and there were a lot of great things that we experienced in everything leading up to this video, which is about Malaysia, and we'll talk about Malaysia as well, and the cool things that we did and so on, the wonderful people and experiences that we had there. But you know, we want to talk about this idea of, you know, now we're home, and here's why. Malaysia, I think, at least for me, you can kind of say what you were thinking as well, but Malaysia for me is, I think, where we started to be overcome by doubt.
Yep.
And you know, we had this idea of, you know, creating this content and having this amazing experience of unifying our family and having, you know, our children having transformative experiences, seeing other cultures and things, and it wasn't happening, and rather than leaning into that more and you know, holding on to the vision of that and persisting, it started to get to us a little bit. It definitely did for me.
Another thing that didn't go so smoothly for us is that before we left, we were like, okay, we're going to start this Instagram, we're going to start a vlog, and we're going to get all these followers and make it, you know, work so that this can become a full-time, like, we will keep traveling as long as we possibly can. And it put all this pressure on us, and it put pressure on, you know, like, we'd be out and we got to get decent pictures, we got to get decent footage, and instead of, you know, a lot of times it would take the fun moments and make them work and make them like, oh, that didn't work out, you got to do that again, or, you know, just change things from an enjoyable trip, you know, a life-changing experience to this is work and we're not loving work.
Yeah, if I had it to do over again, kind of the mindset that I think is the right one to come with is just to, like, the experience comes first in all things. It does take a lot of work, you know, you have to be on it with your gear, you have to prepare well and be ready to capture moments when they happen, but I think we sort of reached a little bit further than that, and I think that's where we got tripped up, was you know, the experience and the fun and the bonding was paramount. And I think we wanted that, but we also wanted so badly to create good content and to grow in our own abilities and to capture moments maybe the way that we wanted to capture them instead of the way that they actually just unfolded for themselves. I think tripped us up a little bit. And that's, you know, then you get into kind of the spiral where you start feeling negative about it, and then it all just goes to pot, and then you don't even have much to share anyway. You know, in our future travels, and we've said this before, you know, travel is going to be a mainstay of our lives now. You know, we, as much as we did have struggles, it was kind of a, you know, the low of the lows, but also the high of the highs. We had some amazing experiences, and we're excited to talk about them and continue to share them for the remainder of our travels that we had. You know, we definitely have the bug now, and I know we definitely intend to get back out there and see more places in the world, and
just on a lower.
Yeah, and encouragingly, I mean, our life is taking shape in a way that's going to be a real possibility for us, and we're really excited and grateful. And I know our kids, even though they started to struggle, I think they're comfortable going other places, and I think they're excited by the possibility of going other places.
I think they're really excited about going to other places. They just don't want to do the full-time thing is not for us,
grind
we've
it out,
decided.
yeah.
But we are back now, but little Quinny, we've been back almost 2 months, and she talks about Thailand all the time, like daily. She loved Thailand.
Spoilers, we went to Thailand.
We went to Thailand, and
that's the next video.
She loved it. She talks about it all the time. Our kids talk about our travels all the time, and it's always positive. Except for when Quinn fell in the sand and got dirt on her face. Then she brings that up a lot too. They definitely made memories that they will have forever.
We'll talk more about kind of what's going on with our lives now, later on in future videos. You know, we don't want to just dump it all on this one. We'll talk about it. We got some exciting things in the works, and we can go into detail about what you're up to and what I'm up to and what the future holds. So I think the signature experience of our time in Malaysia was our day trip. We took a tour out to a well-known elephant sanctuary near Kuala Lumpur called Kuala Ganda was the name of it. And it's a home to lots of elephants that have been rescued either from predators, or they had to be relocated because they were getting too close to human settlements and that sort of a thing. It was a very neat experience, but it was kind of this whole package where we went to more places than just that. And our first stop was the famous Batu Cave, just on the north end of the city. Gentleman didn't, you know, was just trying to make it a neat experience for the kids, and comes up and has candy and wants to give them a piece of candy.
And you can see those monkeys.
The monkeys perked right up. As soon as they
got that candy,
she's got food.
All these monkeys like turn and look at her, and it was like slow-mo of these monkeys just start
creeping in
on Quinn, and one touched her, and that was the end. That was the end of Batu Cave.
Yeah, it didn't like climb on her. It wasn't real aggressive, but just stood up and just put a hand on her.
And
but for
like,
Quinn, that was too much. Too much. And we kind of fouled up the schedule. I felt bad for our tour guide.
It was cool though, because then we got to go, I am a sewer, and so we got to go to a boutique place where they showed us all how they make the fabric. And
we don't have any footage of that.
We don't have footage of
we were all
that, but
ticked
it
off
was awesome.
Flustered. They took us to this little animal park. That was kind of funny because a lot of their animals were from North America.
They're animals that were like, yeah,
hey,
you have them in a zoo,
here.
like that's.
If there's one experience I think that stands out as kind of this awe-inspiring thing, it was to be in that elephant sanctuary. I think of our entire time, we've seen some really neat stuff and been in some really neat places. And that was special to be that close to these animals which are very powerful. It was almost sacred to see just how relaxed and calm and fun everything was. There you go, big guy.
One of the cool things we got to catch while in Malaysia was Chinese New Year. They had amazing stuff. They had so much going on.
Yeah, there was a lot of build up to the actual Chinese New Year. Lots of festivities and events and jugglers and what would you call them?
Dragons.
Well,
Are they
the guys,
acrobats?
Well, acrobats. There we go.
They had a lot of cool stuff that we got to catch.
Build-up had me nervous too. You know, we had a lot of people telling us that Chinese New Year was this huge thing, and you know, lock your doors and.
You came at the wrong time.
Yeah,
There's no like going out on tours right now because
Yeah.
the streets are crazy and.
Yeah, and then the evening of Chinese New Year came, and then there was just kind of nothing. There wasn't. I was expecting like fireworks all through the night and all kind of craziness on the streets, and there was none of that. So this was the theme for me in Kuala Lumpur. Was we had a lot of neat experiences with people, and Chinese New Year kind of had one of those for me. So as you remember, in New Zealand, I wrecked my drone in the only tree that was tall enough to catch it at the height it was at. I wasn't able to use it thereafter, and I knew there was a service center in Malaysia, and so I wanted to get it while we were there. And the way things worked out, I had to kind of really push to get over there before Chinese New Year. I called them up. They were getting ready to go on Chinese New Year vacation. I worked it out where I'd bring in my drone, they'd check it out, see if they could fix it before they were gone. And fortunately, the repairs that were needed weren't too extensive. These guys stayed a little bit longer than I think they meant to, but they were super nice guys. I really appreciated them sacrificing, you know, that little bit of their holiday to make sure that I had what I needed, and I'll always remember that. If you're in that part of the world and you need, if you got a DJI drone, you need it fixed up, hit up GKS UAV Services. They're in Kuala Lumpur, and they're awesome dudes.
We just kept running into stupid, I don't know,
Logistics
random.
were always a challenge. Getting people from place to place, getting people fed, making sure we could, it was rough.
It was. So one day we went and Josh had his camera, our little camera. We have a big
The point
camera
and
and a little
shoot that
one.
we shot
The
a lot
point
of
and
video
shoot.
on.
And we lost it.
So we were at the crepe place in the mall.
Oh, that's right.
And it was
we
one of those
just
things
got up
where
and left it.
to order, I handed it off to one of the kids so I could pay. We sat down, and then all of a sudden nobody was in charge of the camera. We got up and walked off without it, and we didn't even realize it until, maybe an hour later.
Yeah, so Josh ran back, and checked everywhere he could looking for it. And he was like, it's gone. It's just out. And I was like, it's not. It's not. We haven't lost anything yet. We're not losing this. We're going to find this. So we went as a family back and looked around.
We looked through the whole park.
The whole park. We looked
City
everywhere.
Center.
And then we went to the desk, which he had already gone to. And somebody had...
So, okay, hold on. You got to get this right. Because we went there one time and asked if anybody had it. And they said, no, nobody's turned in anything. I went to this little police station at the park. They said nobody had turned anything in. So I was pretty sure that camera was gonzo. We went back the next day one more time.
And I was like, we're going to ask again. And we asked, and somebody had left their name.
Left a note. Yep.
Saying, I have this camera if anybody's looking for it. So Josh called the number, and the guy like left work to come bring it to us and gave it to us and said, check, make sure everything's right, and just the nicest guy. And I was like,
he said he asked us about our travels, and he said, well, I wanted to make sure that you had good memories of my country. So that was really special.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was one of those little miracles that you pull it out of the hat somehow, and just so grateful for him. Good person. We're members of the LDS Church, as I think we've referenced in the past. Maybe not. And our children had struggled a little bit as we tried to go to church in different places, and I think they struggled a little bit with the novelty of it, and Mallory had a little bit of a negative experience at one of the branches that we'd been to previously. I had been praying that our kids would be able to have a positive experience, that they would be welcomed. Prior to Kuala Lumpur, we were in Singapore, and we went to church, and our kids just, they didn't break through. We ended up staying for just the first portion of the meeting, which is sacrament meeting. I really wanted to be there, and that was a hard thing for me to not be able to go. And I was really praying hard that in KL, we would have a different experience. And our prayers were answered. We showed up that first Sunday. We ended up being there for 3 Sundays, which was fantastic. But that first Sunday we showed up, the outpouring of love and welcome that we experienced there that day was really special. It's something that I will never forget my entire life. People were offering us tips and giving us their phone numbers and saying, if you need anything, give me a call, and can I help you in any way? And I'm super grateful for that. I know our kids were as well. Our kids had people just take them right under their wing. And in particular, we had one family who came up to us afterwards and invited us to dinner and had a really special experience with that. Before we go any further in the story, this family situation is a little bit sensitive, so I'm going to err on the side of not mentioning them by name or getting too specific about them, because it has the potential to not be a good thing for them. They're a wonderful family. They invited us over to their apartment for dinner, so it was maybe a couple of nights later that we showed up. And this family are actually refugees from Pakistan. They fled Pakistan a few years ago. They were Christians in that country, which Pakistan is a predominantly Muslim nation, and they faced some persecution, which was pretty serious. The father was an upstanding member of the community, a business owner, employed something like 20 people, had a thriving business, but because of his beliefs, some extremists burned his factory down, and I think they were starting to have threats on their lives and wanted something better, so they fled. So they ended up in Kuala Lumpur, but have struggled to get legal status in that country and are working towards that, but limits them in significant ways. The father's unable to be gainfully employed. A couple of their kids have jobs that support the family, but that's really it. And in spite of that, they're incredibly happy people, inspiringly happy people. A tremendous example to me of family unity, and that really came through when we showed up at their apartment for dinner. They showered us with love and attention and gifts and service. One of their daughters did henna tattoos for all the girls, which was really neat. There you go. They had a young son who was about Will's, a little older than Will, but they were able to play together, and he was giving Will little gifts of things, little fidget spinners and things that Will still has, by the way, you guys, if you're watching.
It was a life-changing experience. It was one of was the coolest family that changed our lives, that we hope to be more like. The end.